So when it comes to coaching SDRs, a lot of times we have way too much subjectivity into the conversations we're having, and we're not bringing enough objectivity to the conversation. And what I mean by that is if you start to incorporate the data behind what's happening, coaching around activities, what's happening in conversations, and ultimately the outcomes that we're seeking become a lot easier. So what a lot of people do is they focus on, let's say, a conversation. It's an asynchronous conversation that happened maybe a week ago. We sit down and we start saying, hey, when they say this, you should say that. You really need to get your numbers up. You know, you're not doing enough activities. Where's the meetings? That's what I see a lot of managers do. Think about it in a different line. What if instead you had an objective view of exactly what it takes to hit quota consistently over time? This is what we call your math of sales, right? How many leads should we be working at any given time? How many activities do those leads generally get us a conversation? How many of those conversations are saying yes, they're taking meetings? How many of those meetings are qualified? And down the line, how many of those are closing? If you know those ratios, the math of sales, coaching becomes a lot easier. You show up to the meeting and you look, hey, how many activities have you done in the last week? Did those activities produce the number of conversations? Well, if your ratios are on, as they should be, let's say it's a 5% connect rate, the activities produce conversations. If you didn't do the activities, you didn't have enough conversations. It's a lot easier to say, hey, look, didn't have the conversations. You're not talking about activities anymore. You're talking about outcomes, okay? Now, if you're having the outcomes and the results aren't there, well, now we can double click into the results. Hey, conversations are happening. We didn't get the meetings, but we had enough conversations. Is that because our messaging is off? Let's go listen to a call. Hey, take a look at this example here. If you would have had that extra ask, that might have been a meeting. Instead, is a follow-up. Let's get on that follow-up. If you start your next week calling this chunk of leads, we should probably get your math of sales back on track. Now all of a sudden we're talking about numbers and objective reasoning versus subjective feelings and what he or she should have said. And so when it comes to coaching reps, especially for the first time, beginning with that math of sales, having that objective view of what's happening and a consistent understanding of how to actually improve. Is it a list issue? Is it an activity issue? Is it a message issue? Or is it a rep issue? Now all of a sudden emotion's out of the equation and everything is about results, outcomes. And that's what we're seeking. And that's what reps need so that they can understand the why behind the behaviors that you're trying to get them to do.